ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ಒಂದು ವಿಶೇಷ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಸೇರಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಶ್ರೀ ಪೆಂಡಕೂರು ವಿರುಪಣ್ಣ ಸ್ಮಾರಕ ದತ್ತಿ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರಾಗಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಉಪಸ್ಥಿತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ವೇದಿಕೆಗೆ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊತೀನಿ. ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಿನ ಸಭಿಕರಿಗೆ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಹೊಸಬರಲ್ಲ. ಈ ವೇದಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲೇ ಹಿಂದೆ ಅನೇಕ ಬಾರಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ತಾನೇ ಉಲ್ಲೇಖ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು, ನಾವು ಯು ಕನ್ವರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಇಟ್ ಬ್ಯೂಟಿಫುಲ್ ಆಡಿಟೋರಿಯಂ ಅಂತ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಆದರೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ಈ ವರ್ಷಾಂತ್ಯದ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳ ಮಧ್ಯೆ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರಲ್ಲಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಜನನೂ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕಡಿಮೆನೇ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ. ವರ್ಷಾಂತ್ಯದ ರಜಾ ಪ್ರಯುಕ್ತ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಹೋಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದ್ರ ಮಧ್ಯೆನೂ ಪುರ್ಸೊತ್ತು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಸಾಯಂಕಾಲ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಾನು ಆದರದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಬಯಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಹಿಂದೆ ನಾನಾಗಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ 2-3 ವಿಷಯಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಅವರಿಲ್ಲಿ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸ ನೀಡಿದ್ದರು. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ನಮ್ಮ ಕರೆಗೆ ಹೋಗೊಟ್ಟು ಅವ್ರು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರ ಡಿಟೇಲ್ಡ್ ಪರಿಚಯವನ್ನು ಆಮೇಲೆ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಹಿಂದೆ 2 ಸರಿ ಮಾತಾಡಿದಾಗ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ವಾಸ್ ಎ ಚಾರ್ಟರ್ಡ್ ಅಕೌಂಟೆಂಟ್, ನೌ ಹೀಸ್ ಎನ್ ಅಡ್ವೊಕೇಟ್. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಡಿಫರೆನ್ಸ್. ಮತ್ತು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿನ ಈ ದತ್ತಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಶ್ರೀ ಪೆಂಡಕೂರು ವಿರುಪಣ್ಣ ಅವರ ಕುಟುಂಬದ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸದಸ್ಯರಿಗೂ ಸಭಿಕರಿಗೂ ಆದರದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಬಯಸ್ತಾ, ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದತ್ತಿ ಇಟ್ಟವ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವರ ಕುಟುಂಬದವರೇ ಆದಂಥ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪೆಂಡಕೂರ್ ಅವರು ಪರಿಚಯ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು. ಹಾಗೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸಕರ ಪರಿಚಯವನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಅವರೇ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂಥೇಳಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪೆಂಡಕೂರ್ ಅವರು ENT ಸರ್ಜನ್. ಮತ್ತು ಅವರು ವಿಶೇಷ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಲರ್ಜಿ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಸಾಕಷ್ಟು ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡ್ಯಾರೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಅಲರ್ಜಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂಥ ಸಾವಿರಾರು ಯಾರು ಅದರಿಂದ ಬಾಧಿತರಾಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಗುಣಪಡಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಪರಿಚಯದ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ನೋಡಿಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ.
Thank you, Indian Institute of World Culture and all the office bearers and today evening's specialist guest speaker, Dr. Venkatesh, and all dear colleagues here in the auditorium. You have brought color, you have brought beauty and every possible sanctum to this evening session. My eldest brother, Professor V.S. Pendakur, Venkatesh Pendakur, was a student here. He studied in BMS College of Engineering. And then there was a hostel here. He lived in the hostel here. And in 1951 or 52, when Vidhana Saudha was being constructed, he was a civil engineer in the construction. Then he went to Assam because the salaries were quite good here, but Assam offered him very big salaries. So he went to Assam and he created a Kannada Sangha there and got so many of his friends and colleagues and classmates from both Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and also from so many people from Karnataka. Then he had a UNESCO scholarship. He went to Canada. He studied in the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. And later on, he became an assistant professor and full professor. And all his life, He was in the university, and then after his retirement, he worked for the government of China for a long time, and he learned even Mandarin. And he was inspired to institute this particular endowment on the name of our father, Pendakur Virupanna, in Virupanna, Bellary district. We were from a place called Narayana Devarkere, which got submerged in the Tungabhadra reservoir after it was built, the dam was built. We went to Virupanna. There he was a farmer, he was also an industrialist. He was very fond of farming, but he continued to do farming, and he also had this oil mill, groundnut oil mill. And then when around, I think, before the emergency, when RSS people were very close to us, they would come and live in our house because it was a small place. Whenever they came for RSS activities or anything, they would come and live in. So they asked him, can you give us a land to build a school? He said yes. And they asked him for a particular site. It was 4 acres land. They asked him for that site. He said, yes, you take it. He gave that land. That became Rashtrothana Shale. This is much before emergency, much before Janaseva Vidya Kendra was established in Chennanahalli. And he also gave the temple, they built a temple, they asked for it, and he gave that also. He used to be a hard-working person. He educated all 8 of us, and he consistently told me, don't ever get into business. You are not made for business. You must become an officer, something like that. He didn't know any other language other than Kannada. And my eldest brother was inspired by his life and activities, and he said he would institute an endowment here in honor of my father, and also another endowment here in the name of my mother, who used to write poetry in Kannada. She also knew only Kannada. And she has written long poetical this thing on Akka Mahadevi, Mallamma, Krishna, like that. And I have conducted several programs here in the name of my mother. Today we are honored because this particular very special lecture, what a beautiful topic that the speaker has chosen and the institute has chosen. I have to really thank you so much for instituting this lecture and giving this opportunity to be in the name of my father's endowment. I have also been asked to introduce Sri Venkatesh, Dr. M.R. Venkatesh. I am a medical doctor.
I'm not.
I know. I am an ENT surgeon, but most of my work has been on allergy and asthma for a long time. Dr. Venkatesh is an advocate based in New Delhi. Thank you, sir, for coming here from New Delhi. I have sent a few invitations to New Delhi also. Practicing criminal laws, economic offenses, and serious financial frauds. He is an acknowledged expert in the field of anti-money laundering. God, we need that so much. And anti-money laundering laws, anti-black money laws, direct taxes, and related regulations. He is a designated partner in Agastya Legal LLP and heads advisory and litigation related to the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, Prevention of Corruption Act, Income Tax Act, Black Money and Imposition of Tax Act, SEBI Act, FEMA, and the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. God. Dr. MRV, as he is popularly known, became a chartered accountant in 1992 with an All India ranking. In 2018, he was awarded a doctorate, PhD, for his thesis on evaluating the impact of minimum support price and input subsidies on the farm sector in the 4 southern states of India. Sir, great, sir. Thank you so much. By Shastra University, Tamil Nadu. He is also visiting faculty in various professional institutions, chambers of commerce, and universities across the country. In addition, he has authored and published several books, including a handbook on anti-dumping. Look at that, which was released by the former Prime Minister of India, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee in 2001. Another great son of India. A monograph on capital account convertibility, which was published in July 2006, as well as one on inflation, which was published in 2007. A book titled Global Imbalances and the Impending Dollar Crisis. Look at that. These are great things. In September 2007, a book titled Sense, Sensex, and Sentiment. In 2011, and another titled Dr. Manmohan Singh, A Decade of Decay. In 2013. He is also a regular panelist for prime time shows on national television and a well-recognized columnist in leading media publications in India. On behalf of all of you, on behalf of this great institution, and on behalf of my family, sir, I welcome you. Thank you all for being with us on this beautiful, good evening. Let us continue.
Or I can go there. Good evening, friends. Last time when I came to this hall, it was very Spartan. This time it looks beautiful as an auditorium. I do not know who has sponsored this transition, but if you permit me, let me make a small donation of 10,001 rupees. I would be much honored if I'm permitted. And ensure that my promise is kept and the video is recording by tonight. Because I'm a very forgetful character. Otherwise, when Prasanna ji was talking to me some 6-8 weeks back, there was a euphoria, at least in parts of America, that Trump has triumphed both death and electoral difficulties in being elected as the President of the United States of America. The global right saw him as some sort of messiah. And the global left was despondent. That if Trump comes back to power, it's finito. And the right was jubilant for the wrong reasons. That Trump has come, so nothing has to be done. We have done our best. The truth, unfortunately, lies somewhere in between. And that compelled in me, along with a conversation with Prasanna ji, to christen this topic as Trumponomics. At that time, I was not very clear as to what I would speak, but vaguely a directional or a compass passed through my mind as to what would be the topic that I would, or the issues that I will be raising before this audience. America feels, or the right in America feels, that, and includes parts of India, right feel, that Trump has come, so much of the problems will be sorted. But the way Trump sees the problem is different from we seeing the problem. It's a very important thing. Trump sees the problem differently. Of course, he sees the problem like what we see. That America, for the first time, and this may be true in my living memory, that for the first time, the president-elect of America, during the course of the elections, were not addressing any global issue, were not addressing internal economic issue. They were talking about survival of America as a nation. First time it has happened. It has happened that they have seen that China has leapfrogged from what she was, say even in the year 2015 to 2025, a decade. China has just leapfrogged. And so, the way America was treating China, say 10 years back, will be entirely different from all the textbooks that are going to prescribe how America will deal with China. What is it that Trump faces at the outset? Trump faces an potential collapse of the dollar. Dollar is a currency that would have been buried some decades ago, but survives purely on the strength of American army. But for the American army, the defense of the dollar is almost impossible. I will take a quick few minutes to explain this for you. Americans started printing dollar to the amount of gold that they had in the Fort Knox in the 40s. After the World War II, that was called the Bretton Woods Agreement, which gave rise to the World Bank, IMF, and a sort of a global currency in the dollar. And the dollar was printed to the amount of gold that they had. Like the local milkman who gives you first day good milk, then slowly adds water into it. Americans started printing more dollar than the gold that they have. So the French understood that the original agreement was $1 you must have 31.1 gram of gold or something. That's called troy ounce. So they were printing more dollars. The French realized that this was a diluted currency. So they started giving dollar and taking gold. On 15th August 1971, note the date, 15th August, America's then President Nixon said, we are breaking away from the gold standard. Let us all believe there is gold in our Fort Knox for the dollar that is printed. At that time, dollar, probably you will get in Indian currency 100 rupees per sovereign, 8 grams. Today you will get what? What is the price? We do not know, because as I came into the hall, there was one price. When I'm speaking, probably the price has gone up. It's almost 80,000 rupees per 10 grams of gold. Why has this happened? Because gold rises means dollar is falling. Simple. So this was understood by everybody. There has been various attempts in trying to dissuade the dollar, but the Americans outsmarted everybody. They increased the prices of crude. They created OPEC, oil producing exporting countries. It's the world's biggest cartel. And they said, all of you put money from the hands of 100 odd countries into the hand of 10 odd countries, which are the oil producing and exporting countries. So money, dollar has been switched from the hands of 100 odd countries into hand of just 10 countries. Then these 10 countries, Iran, Iraq, Saudi, all these countries were kept on a persistent, consistent state of economic boil, political boil, so that everybody will invest their money, which is the surplus, into America. America's GDP today stands at around $26-27 trillion officially. It has a debt of around $35 trillion. And we have a foreign exchange reserve of $600 billion, which means somewhere down the line we have lent to America. Japan has got 1.3 or so, $1.5 trillion. It has lent to America. China has got $5-6 trillion. It has lent to America. So daily all of us have to pray, dollar is well. Though the dollar has depreciated politically, it makes bad signage for the current party in power in India. Actually, 6 to 7 million people in Dubai are celebrating. Because last month when they had to send $1,000 to India to take care of their parents, it added only 84,000 rupees. This month, same thing fetches 85,000 rupees. Which means one month full vegetable is funded. They are very happy. Tirupur's exporters are very happy. But fuel prices will go up shortly. Inflation will go up shortly. So we are also worried, those who are consumers here. So that's a different subject. But Americans realized that we can always get over of any problem by printing notes and circulating it. Saddam Hussein realized this problem. He said, I will sell oil, but I will not be forced to sell in dollars. Oil is the only commodity in the world, apart from gold, which is originally sold in dollar in two places, London and New York. Produced in Saudi Arabia, purchased by, say, Japan, but only in two markets, London, New York. That also it will be denominated in dollars. He said, I will sell dollars, I will sell my crude in Saudi currency. They immediately said, weapons of mass destruction. A country which could not make scooter was supposed to have intercontinental ballistic missiles. And on top of it, they are supposed to have nuclear weapons. And so they completely came in, destroyed the country. That is why how they could defend the dollar. That is why I said dollar is the only currency which is defended by the army. But for F-35s, F-16s, dollar would have collapsed several years ago. But dollar is required to put in a global order also. Much as we despise, we do not know what is the alternative. We do not know what we should do. A dollarless world is unthinkable. So the Treasury Secretary of the US once said, dollar is our currency, your responsibility. You cannot allow dollar to collapse. It is like a neighbor's son coming into your house, baby. You will have to take extra protection about that baby, otherwise you will get into a problem. You can allow your child to get into a problem, but not your neighbor's child. You will have to see that it is sent back home safely. So, dollar has become, it is in a last stages, everybody feels. But last stage may go for another 30 years. But it is in a last stage. Next, Americans are for the first time seeing they are politically divided across the society. There's a huge societal cleavage. This gentleman may support Congress, this gentleman may support JD, that gentleman may support BJP. But during elections, we may discuss, we may exchange heated language, other things. But we don't have a societal cleavage. It's unthinkable for us. Democrats and Republicans are virtually having a language of untouchability between them. A Chinese wall where nobody wants to even socialize, talk. This type of cleavage is coming in American society. The first time, in fact, this morning I saw, nowadays Americans are very nice. They don't discuss anything hush-hush in the government offices, memo, notepads. Everything is in Twitter only. They have decided Musk will tell anything to Trump only in Twitter, to which Trump will also reply only in Twitter. Everything is open. So very nice. So everybody can see it also. For the first time, Americans are finding it difficult to swallow what is called as a woke culture that has spread across America. To which their answer is, we will go back to meritocracy. We will give STEM, which is called science, electronics, mathematics. All this, we will give it only to students who are going to take it on merit, not 6% for LGBTQ category, 8% for migrants, 12% for this, 18% for blacks. No. Whosoever you are, you will come here and take this class only if you take a cutoff. America had drifted for the last 20 years from this. Now they are realizing how poorly they are coming out, and this, the reason for it is China's leapfrogging in technology. I think Trump will be foolish. I'm using the word very strongly, but with an amount of understanding of economics, to think that he can solve America's problem by raising tariffs against China. In fact, Americans require Chinese goods. It is not China which requires American market. China requires it. It takes two to a tango. No doubt about it. America and China, to put it very mildly, since I'm in Bangalore, I will be allowed to express this, are like two drunkards, putting arm in arm and going. They will counterbalance each other's gyration. But if one fellow falls, the other fellow will fall. It is very peculiar. No doctor, sir, you are a doctor, can you explain why one drunkard falls, the other drunkard falls? But both of them will go together to sunset. They will not fall. This is a very peculiar thing. No physics, no chemistry, no doctor, no engineer has been able to decipher. So China requires America, no doubt. But today, if you see in the last 10 years, a Mi phone, Xiaomi, which makes phone 10 years back, 8 years back, at best 3 lens, 4 lens, this amount of capacity, that amount of capacity, this feature, that feature, suddenly has leapfrogged to making cars. No American, Apple cannot think of making cars in the next few years. I don't think so that's going to happen. Why? It is not that Americans are incapable. It is their demographic, it is their educational, cultural, political system that has made them come second best to China in several fields. This is very important to understand what is the prescription. Now I'm doing a diagnosis, I'll come to the prescription. When this is happening, Americans are going to use this migration, no migration. Who will run Google? Who will run Amazon? In Amazon, you will have Srinivasan's few hundred. If you want Narayanan's few hundred. Narayanan from Karnataka, few hundred. Narayanan from Tamil Nadu, few hundred. You are filled with this type of people all across. Who will do the jobs? America doesn't have the internal capacity. So now they have to retain capacity and also to take out the trash that, as they say, has come in terms of unwanted migration. It's going to be a huge challenge how they are going to distinguish between the chalk and the cheese. But that's their problem. But the realization is that we have a huge problem on our hands because A, we have not been rewarding meritocracy. 2, we have not been rewarding our own people. Our own people are not taking to basic sciences, mathematics, technology, the white Anglo-Saxon male is absent. And this election was the return of the wasp. The white Anglo-Saxon male came in full numbers and voted for Trump, believing Trump will give an answer to this. Trump's first answer has shocked the world. And he understands, probably the second politician in 2024 to understand that government is not there to help people. Government is a burden on the people. And the first person to realize this was the Argentinian president, Javier Milei. Have you heard of this name, Javier Milei? A phenomenal politician who was not the politician in the true sense of the term. He says that in a video, he has put in number of governments and number of departments in the rear background wall. People ask him, Minister for Culture, I don't want it, close it. Ministry for Sports, close it. Ministry for Mines, close it. He just goes on plucking ministries after ministries or words or the pamphlets that are result of, and he has stabilized the Argentinian economy in the last 12 months like nobody else has thought about it. He has closed departments ruthlessly. You may say, sir, what will happen? He said, don't ask me those questions. This is a disease, you first cut it out. Consequences, we'll look after it because the consequences will be far, far lower. So let me close down departments after departments after departments after departments. Now, Trump has also said the same thing. They have started DOGE. That's something like Department of Government Efficiency or something. Huh? Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are supposed to do it, and by 26 June, they are supposed to close down 301 departments. America has got around 400 odd departments. They plan to close something like 301. Now, why this has happened? You will have to come back to India now. Narendra Modi promised minimum government, maximum governance. At the start of his term, many of us were, probably it is his ideas that are being taken by people like Milei and Trump. Today, how many of us know that there is a Ministry of Steel in India? And Ministry of Steel, you may know this, now then you will have to answer the second question. Since you have raised your hand no, you should answer this. I saw you raising your hand, now you answer this. In the last 10 years, what it has plugged in the last 10 years? You do not even know who is the minister. We all know, but sir, it is not 10 years. The story. The point I'm making is, why? Why should you have a minister for steel? Why should you have Badminton Association, BCCI, you have Karate, you have this, that, all sports association, then a ministry for sports. In the ministry for sports, you will have a secretary, two joint secretary, you have deputy secretary, under secretary, over secretary, LDF, UDF, all sorts of fellows who will be there typing letters after letters saying why things cannot be done. For not getting more than 3 or 4 medals in Olympics, touch your heart and tell me why should we require a Ministry of Sports? That Prasanna ji ko bol do, wo kar dega. You give it to this gentleman, he will manage this 4 or 5 medals without a sports ministry. What is it so spectacular to have a Ministry of Sports to do this? This is the question that Trump is asking. And he finds many buildings are empty. He finds many people don't have work, but they come to office and they go off. So the first thing that is happening is that he is thinking about closing departments. I think he has become the first proponent of Hindutva economics. Both Javier Milei and Trump have probably joined RSS, more specifically Swadeshi Jagran Manch, and have started giving one of the most basic but innovative idea in modern times, that is, close down government departments ruthlessly. But there is a problem. The problem is to understand the Western world as distinguished from the Eastern world. Trump can close, but is it going to be easier to close departments? To understand this, you have to understand the Christian psyche. The Christian world believes everybody is born bad, because everybody is nothing but a successor of Adam and Eve, so they are all born bad. That is why in our side and all, especially if you go down deep south, anybody who will be sitting before them, the pastor begins by the words Pavihale, because everybody is a Pavi. There is no noble soul. You may have donated just as your father has donated so many things, and we were so happy to listen to it. But if he had gone to a Christian mass, he would also be called Pavihale. If the Lord Pope comes here, he will be addressed thus. Because everybody is a papi till they are baptized and seek the blessings of Lord Jesus, and that is why they say Jesus saves. In chapter 11 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I will destroy. I am my kal hu, main sabko khatam kar dunga. Whereas in contrast, it says Jesus saves. And Jesus is suppose if you have to have the what is called equivalent of moksha, he has to bestow. You cannot take anything from him. You can only file an application, and that will be in the Catholic world, it will be transmitted by the priest. In the Protestant world, you can directly apply. And they have got a direct portal. Okay? And you get your equivalent of emancipation only through the intervention of Christ. No amount of self-cleansing, no amount of discipline, no amount of Atma Shuddhikaran can elevate you and give you moksha. Moksha is only through an external agent. Thomas Hobbes says man is brutal. He says man is an animal, is brutal. So we require an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent government. You cannot have a mild government, no. Richard Dawkins, Marx, you take any scientist, Sigmund Freud, there's a book called Born Bad by James Boyce. He says, world is believed in Christendom to have been created for the evil. And it is only through the salvation is possible only when you surrender to Jesus. And Jesus is the external factor who has to give you salvation. No salvation is possible through individual means. Mahabharata's original name is Jaya. Not many people know it. Then it became Bharata, then Mahabharata. That means Jaya was for self. Finally, Mahabharata teaches you all your problems are between 6 inches between your ears. And you have to create solutions for your own problems, and nobody is going to help you. That is why karma has been given the pride of place in our society. Ram Rajya is Rajya without Ram. You don't require Ram Rajya ke liye, you don't require Ram. You can have me as the Prime Minister, you can have him as the Prime Minister, you can have Prasanna ji as the Prime Minister, you can have anybody as the Prime Minister. And yet it may be called Ram Rajya. It is a concept where people are not governed by the government, but where they do the self-administration themselves. Because for us, no amount of visit to my Sankaracharya or Jier or my Swami, my Guru will help me with moksha. It may be that they will show the path, but they cannot give me moksha. Moksha is on my own self. So the cleavage between a Western civilization which understands government is different from us understanding government. For them, it is an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent necessity. For us, it is a necessary evil. We don't look at governments with great pride, traditionally. We look at governments as a necessity to ensure certain law and order. Government is a necessity to us, as a necessity evil. We don't celebrate great kingdoms, we celebrate great civilizations. And to us, it is the civilization that has sustained. And for a person from, say, Kanyakumari to Kashmir, from Kutch to Kohima, the Sankalpa was always Bharata Varshe, Bharatak Kante Mero Dakshine Parte. It was never Ashoka Rajye, it was never Pandya Rajye, it was never Chola Rajye. It was always Bharata Varshe, Bharatak Kante without any reference to any kingdom. It was Bharat Mata which was always there. It was not the Bharat Mata of, say, the RSS which has coined it and has probably given it a shape. But we always had it. It was a concept etched for the last 5,000, 8,000 years in our mind. Probably the figurative conceptualization happened 100 years ago. Galat to nahi bola na, sir? You are looking at me. So the point here is Trump is embarking on something equivalent to a Ramarajya without understanding and preparing the people for Ramarajya. He wants to shut down government. That is okay. You can shut down governments or departments. But how are you going to take care of 350 million people? You are going to raise tariffs. No doubt, you will raise the tariff. But you are not having enough capacity today to produce. In fact, China thinks in the next 10 or 15 years, I may be wrong by the statistics, a few percentages here or there, they say world's manufacturing, 1/3 has to happen in China. 33% of global manufacturing has to happen in China. This is their view. Physics teachers, I'm told, are people who don't teach theoretical physics, they teach only practical physics. And today, America's best universities are finding it difficult to keep pace with these type of teaching methodologies. If you have a Twitter in the Western world, they have their own Twitter. If you are having a rating agency, Fitch or CARE or whatever in the Western world, they are having their own rating agency. And incidentally, Chinese have rated Americans very poorly. American dollar is very poor. Whatever you want, the Western world creates things, conceptualizes, manufactures, delivers, develops, is developed in China in a different way. And more than America, it is Chinese who are leading the world in new age technologies. So that is why, so you can say, I want to lower competition by putting these tariff walls. It's good to hear it as a rhetoric. But how are you going to deliver? The more you insulate, you are not going to compete. And what gravity is to physics, competition is to economics. If you are going to lose out on competition, and if Chinese are destroying America in America, America will find it difficult to defeat China outside. So Trump has to save the dollar. He has to make a society which is divided deep in between, especially between the whites and the blacks. And today you have an American society which is overtaken by wokeness. And you have a hostile media. And you have a dilapidated, I'm using the word advisedly, dilapidated educational system. And then you want to be the sole superpower in the world. It's going to be extremely challenging. So where does that leaves India? how do we take care of this emerging challenge, opportunity, threat, whatever you call it. India's response has been very peculiar. We have raised the GST on caramelized popcorn as a response. Okay, our responses are all through GST. It is an intercontinental ballistic missile that will solve much of our problem, and America is shaken to the core, China is shaken to the core after this caramelized popcorn has been announced by Honorable Finance Minister. We live in profound stupidity about what is happening worldwide. Let us make it clear. We are not aware, forget responses, as to what is the challenge that has happened in the last 10 years and how China has leapfrogged and has become some sort of a supernormal state. It has delivered at some mind-boggling speed. That's the thing. It has delivered. It doesn't think, it doesn't conceptualize, it doesn't visualize. Those words, those terminologies are not used by the Chinese. Deliver. And how do they deliver? They deliver world class. What is the secret? The secret of Chinese is again through the state. It's a paradox. America has to get rid of the state to become efficient. China has to deliver only through an efficient state. It's a paradox. Nobody is able to get rid of this riddle. China, as Confucius believes, Chinese generally believe that the state is the God. Government is God for them. For us, government is a necessary evil. For the West, government is required to take the evil away from the West. So you see how the state is perceived in each civilization. In fact, Samuel Huntington writes a wonderful book, Clash of Civilizations. You can find this beautifully explained. So you are going to see that Trump is going to end one thing certainly, which is called globalization. Nobody now speaks about the world of globalization. It is dead. So probably next lecture you can say 1 minute mourning for the death of globalization and begin the program. Apart from that, there is a rise of nationalism that is happening. 20 years back, people would lampoon you for saying, Americans would lampoon us. If we said we are a protectionist economy, we want to raise tariffs. It happened when Atalji was there. And they started responding to various measures after Pokhran. And we were trying to raise tariffs, especially on agricultural products and others, to say that we want to protect our industry, our farmers. The American economists were lampooning us and trying to tell us that if you raise tariff, you are not in economics. Today, Trump is saying the same thing. Karma is a 5-letter word. It comes to haunt you within 20 years. So it is not that it is now going to be a very peculiar situation also, that Trump's economic model will coincide with Modi's economic model, may also coincide with Xi Jinping's economic model. And it will also have differential factors also. So we need to have a dialogue worldwide with the right thinking people who are the rightists. So Trump's economic modeling, policy modeling is probably going to find that I may find resonance with the Republic Party's economic policy, then say Congress Party's economic policy. Or vice versa. A Democrat, I may find resonance with Democratic Party, than say with the BJP's economic party. Though in economics in India, at least I see no difference between Congress and BJP in any strict sense of the term. But there will be minor name change. Instead of say Indira Gandhi Yojana, it may be Veer Savarkar Yojana. But the Yojana is a Yojana, and all Yojanas are Bhojanas for the Babudam. Okay, so you must understand, and this is what is driving me crazy. Though it is a light-hearted comment, but you must ponder about it, because light-hearted comments are always pregnant with deep meanings. A rich man is always worried about the IAS officer. A poor man is always worried by the IPS officer. The middle class is worried by the IRS officer. There is also a clear caste division among them. You go after the rich, I will go after the poor, I will go after the middle class. People in this hall need not be worried about the petroleum secretary's policy on petroleum. Only Mukesh Ambani has to worry. We are not worried about the IAS officer of this area, who is the inspector, because we can manage him. But one notice from GST, one notice from income tax officer, all of you will run today. And there will be no New Year celebration in your house. Because each one has said, this area I will take control. Unfortunately, the bureaucratization has increased in the last 30 years, more so in the last 10 years. This is a lesson for us, that finally you will find that one day or the other you will have to abruptly close departments after department, ministries after ministries. Why we should have this, I have still not understood. I think I can quote at least 20, 30 ministries which can be quoted that it can be closed by 7 o'clock. It's another 3 minutes more. But we are not doing. We want to give them jobs. And to give jobs to them, we have to pay them. And to pay them, we have to see how do we charge GST on caramelized popcorn. Nothing has shaken me as a chartered accountant as much as this caramelized popcorn has. I have stopped eating popcorn in theaters. Trust me, it is the most devastating piece of stupidity I have ever come across. So it comes back that today we are in a cusp that it will be a disruptive economics for which no person has thought about except, say, Trump, probably Elon Musk, probably Vivek Ramaswamy, to some extent Javier Milei of Argentina. They have only conceptualized, they do not even know the repercussions of what they are doing. So it is time somebody like us, and I am glad that we are speaking in the World Culture Forum, that we in Bangalore think about this as some sort of serious development. It is not once in a year or twice in a year event. If they really embark on closing government, it is going to be a blueprint several governments are going to do. It's like placing the sun a few billion kilometers away from where it is and trying to see how the world works. That is what is being attempted. And that is a model which India can readily emulate, because we are people who believe in Jaya, not in salvation. Our idea is moksha through self. And if that is the case, my only submission and request is all of you must try to put pressure, whichever party, whichever political lineage or alignment that you are. Government must cease to do all these subsidy, rabdies and everything. Government is there only for a minimalistic place. It has to be there. And the middle class, unfortunately, has been silent about this. We do not want to raise our voice against this subsidization of various things, which is nothing but briberization of our voters. And unless we raise our voice across party lines, we must do it across party lines. It must not be specific to any political party. And we must also put pressure on the courts that we must, if at all something is given, it must be codified, it must be limited, it must be out of the general resources of the government, not borrowals. It must not affect the fiscal deficit. It must not be something that we borrow from our future to fund the present, to politicize our present. I would even put it that way. So, ladies and gentlemen, the talk here is not as much about Trump, US or US economy. It's also about how we manage our economy. It's very important that if Trump succeeds, it is mostly that many governments will follow and try to emulate it here. But if Trump fails, it is going to be disaster. So not for the reason that I like Trump, but I have to pray that Trump survives, and Trump survives with his economic modeling so that we can take a leaf out of it. I'm not a fan of Trump. But I'm compelled to become a fan of Trump because for the first time in the last 70 years, 80 years, somebody has talked about reducing government. Sole exception was Ronald Reagan, but actually expanded the government. He said 9 most dangerous words are, I am from the government, I am ready to help you. He said this is the most dangerous words you will hear, but he went on to expand government. And this ridiculousness has to stop. It is an ideological issue. How big a government should be, how small a government should be. Will a small government be efficient? Do you want an efficient government? Do you want a big government? Sir, my cow is not pregnant. Pradhan Mantri Cow Pregnancy Yojana. The response is this. The issue is not addressed. So you want to have 2 joint secretaries, 1 secretary, animal husbandry department, and you are happy about it. No, we need to have some responses from the government on a very specific model. This is something that you all have to chew about, think about, dialogue with your political leaders, because political leaders have stopped thinking. So you will have to make them think. You will have to tell them that, look, this is something that we need. We need a genuine right-wing government in this country. And for that, if Trump succeeds, we take a leaf. If Trump doesn't succeed, we need to create that leaf. Thank you very much. And I will be happy to answer any questions if you have, and if the organizers permit. Thank you.
We'll have time for 2 to 3 questions. Request as usual, keep the questions short. Let us not summarize. So let us post our questions, pointed questions to the speaker. We'll start from here.
Thank you, sir. I'll come to the question directly. You mentioned, I agree with your viewpoint, Chinese model versus American model, where one is on the minimizing the government, where coming out of the state, and where the other, where the economy is completely state-centric. In the end, you are concluding that we Indians here sitting at, we are looking at Trump, we are looking at Chinese Communist Party. We are clueless, actually. Is it a possibility that we fall between the stool? Either we are not emulating US, not either going towards China. So rather that, can we go some kind of independent thinking in solving our own problems rather than looking at these 2 giants? Thank you.
No, it is no shame to borrow from anybody if it is a good idea. The Rig Veda begins by the shloka, let the noble thoughts come from outside. But you are right, it doesn't mean that all thoughts that come in from outside are good. And also we are a matured set of civilization. We can evaluate. But you are also right that we have stopped evaluating. On economic thought, tell me 5 differences or 3 differences between the BJP government and the Congress government and the Communist government and the Mamata government and the DMK government. You tabulate this, except for the name change, you have no big change. And it is the same wine in the same bottle with the same label. Probably sometimes the label changes. So I agree your suggestion, but the responsibility is on you to dialogue this with your leaders. Yes, sir.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Just one sharp point. When the government came to power, the present political party, we all expected a government with a difference, and I'll make it very short. Take Bombay municipality. You know the budgets of BMC. It's expanding. The BMC is expanding, as you rightly said, with no difference between any political party. I thought a government with a difference would do it. What went wrong?
Sir, it is easy for me to admit the failure of XYZ, but I will say it is a collective failure of people like us by not demanding anything. We are very short in dialoguing with our political people. Unless we have this open conversation like what we have today, and for which I'm very glad people like Prasannaji facilitated. When is it the last time, in the last 10, 15 years, you have debated economics? In the sense, we think once in 5 years we go to the booth, vote, we have done. It's not enough. Democracy is a 24 by 365 day game. And Rajaji said, if you don't keep a watch, the Swadeshi tyranny will overtake the Videshi tyranny. So you have to be raising your voice. And I think nothing stops you from going home today and writing a letter to Nirmalaji and saying this popcornization of GST must stop. Nothing stops you. You can say that as you may have your own compulsions, but this is ridiculous. And I believe personally, this is, though you may belong to this political party or that political party, I'm saying you have never done it in the last 10 years. So they think that it is being loved by the people. And people like Venkatesh who come and say something are the outliers who are going to grumble anyway. So unless there is a mass response, I'm taking popcorn as an example because it's too nascent. There are hundreds and billions I can give you. So please take politely but firmly and follow it up. And that would be the beginning of the next step. Beginning of the next step. Whichever thing that you think. Yes, sir.
Okay. A wonderful session, sir. So my question is, so recently Trump had made this statement that Canadians want Canada to become part of the US. So what are your thoughts on it? And thank you.
See, he's bamboozling the Canadians. He's bamboozling everybody. He wants to be the elephant in this room. Okay. And he wants to give everybody that, look, America is again a big daddy and it will dominate. That's rejuvenating his own voters who are feeling low at this point in time. They are low on adrenaline, low on vision, low on confidence. So he's trying to bamboozle the outside world. This is what any leader would do. So don't take that part of it seriously. What his, or rather my focus of this evening's lecture was what economics is going to bring in and how it would impact the world. That's the, yes.
I have two questions. You can
Sir,
choose
one
to-
question per day, sir.
One question per
You have to submit that Aadhaar card, sir, for that.
Okay, the first Do you think voters in India are matured enough to understand these phenomena which you are talking? Because people, even middle class, will not understand all these things. So when you say that the drive has to come from individuals or the drive has to come from the government?
Sir, we are the people who believe in self. Again, I believe the middle class is the most intelligent one. If somebody from middle class can drive Amazon and Google and others, you may not understand, or not all that I said here is gospel, sir. I have also understood and given my opinion. But believe me, you can also have this opinion sitting today. 20 years back, all this knowledge would not come because we didn't have internet. Today, you can on real-time basis know what is happening in Argentina within fraction of a second here in India. Today, I have read more about Argentinian economy than about Indian economy in the last 1 week preparing for this lecture because it is fascinating. So, it's only a drive of individuals and passion and fascination. If you can do it, sir, nothing to stop you. As I said, that answer to that elderly gentleman, nothing stops you to raise something to the Honorable Finance Minister and say, look, this is good idea from the government, but this has the bad things. So would you reconsider? Things will change. Things will. People, they show, their answer is, you are the only fellow who is coming and cribbling. Where 10 people don't cribble. They are so happy that popcorn 18% caramelized, 12% namkeen with packet, 5% without namkeen. People are jubilating. You, Venkatesh, you are only having a problem. So you can start it, sir.
Sir, what is your take on economic inequality, and should we be economy equal? All sections of society should be economically equal.
How old are you, sir? 40.
14.
14. If all of us in this hall become 14, we will be equal. Correct? I don't want to ask your weight, but I presume it will be 60. Okay? All of us attain a weight of 60. It will be wonderful. But we cannot do that. Economic equality is a myth. Economic equity is what we must try. Equity is you must be given equal opportunity. You must be given the same amount of chances to make it big, your dream. Okay? So for this, you have to go back and to create an equitous society, not a society of equality. That equality in Article 14 is predominantly a Christian concept. Equity would have been a better word and we should have used this. Unfortunately, we did not.
So my question,
Oh,
in 1950 we were 31 crores. Now we are 140 crore.
Yes.
And we hear quite a lot of people asking for more. So how is it linked with economics and the impact?
there are two ways of looking at this question. States like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka have done enormously good in family planning. They are losing population. And they are losing population big time, that now they say that India's population has more or less peaked. It will not go up. So this demographic dividend is now, we are living in the present times to give demographic dividend. It is not a futuristic idea. It is a present idea. It has to hatch today, tomorrow and all. Otherwise we are done. As far as your question you asked, I think, Jitna Hak, Utna, is that the question?
No, we were 31 crores, now we are 140 crores.
Yeah.
Same land,
Yeah.
same resources, same space.
Yeah, see, population was held to be a curse. India's huge population was a curse, some say 30, 40, 50 years back when we were reading the Malthusian theory in economics. Today, we are talking about demographic dividend. We see population as a strength also. The problem is we are not having a population that is skilled, that is well-versed, disciplined, that we are not giving them enough education. This is our challenge. The issue is not numbers per se. How we use the numbers is the challenge. Yes, the Gangetic Plain, especially beginning Delhi to Bengal, of say 2,000 kilometers, is very densely populated. It probably has population above so many countries. UP has a population almost 2/3 of America. One state has got a population close to 2. And sometimes when I talk to some of my lawyer friends in Australia, I casually tell them, your population daily is our passenger numbers in our trains. So number of people going in our train is around 2.5 crores. Their population is around the same 2.5 crores. So India's population by itself cannot be held to be positive or negative. It has to be how we leverage that numbers and how we equip them. Supposing 140 billion population, a 1.4 billion population is all consisting of Bill Gates and Elon Musk's, what will happen? See the wealth that it would create. The problem is we don't have that numbers.
Let me disclose that I'm a US citizen. And of course, I was very much disappointed by this lecture. Of course, I don't know whether you actually supported the Democratic Party in the election in US. Perhaps you would have been a good advisor for the Democratic Party in US. But anyway, I'm also an engineer. In fact, I have a PhD degree in air. The question is, let me tell you, you have mentioned that US, the internal technologies in US are very bad. You are depending on Narasimhan, Venkataraman, or someone from India. If that is true, why is it India has so many MNCs? Why is it they are depending? Why they could not make a Kaveri engine? And what is their status as far as Chandrayaan 2 and 3 are concerned? And Gaganyaan, what is their status? And why is it they are depending on US for airplanes and engines?
Okay. So you are saying, let me put it, it was a quote from Elon Musk. Please go and see what Elon Musk says today. Okay. And I don't presume Elon Musk is a Democrat supporter. And he is going to play a very vital role as per Trump in the election, in the post inauguration scenario. I think he's going to hit something called Doji. And he is daily tweeting about what is running today in or creating a problem for them. My view about Indians being there successful is they are successful because of the ecosystem there. The ecosystem allows on a comparative basis a success in America, not in India. But today, China has leapfrogged. Again, today you see what they have said. This is all, I follow a lecture, almost 10 days I prepare, sir. Today they are saying even on some of those supercomputer materials which China has once upon a time thought about importing, is now manufacturing there in China. And that is my point, that it may be that tariffs will not work this time. China may say, thank you very much, you raise your tariffs, we also don't want to give you. And why is it Trump talks about tariff increasing? And for your information, probably I have not explained it properly. I wanted Trump to come because he is more disruptive than anybody, and I want this disruption to happen. And I'm welcoming this disruption. I have given a multitudinal dimension. In a lecture of 1 hour, you cannot cover almost the whole of the world. We have given a glimpse. Let me clarify one thing. I was never supporting a Democrat. That will be the worst thing. If possible, please remove that thought in your mind.
Okay. So we will have one last question.
Thank you. That was a good lecture. So even the Chinese debt is ballooning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even on the disclosed numbers, they are
There are
somewhere
doubts.
close to 35 to 40 trillion dollars, and it's not that their economic strength is all that great, especially with a lot of migrations. So, what is your reflection on some of the internal happenings inside China, and how it is going to affect the world in general? That's it.
China is no holy cow. China has its own soft underbellies. China has its own problems. The Evergrande problem in terms of banking is mind-boggling. Probably any other country, it would have demolished the country, detonated by itself, but the Chinese are holding on till date. Now, the reason I have not gone into the Chinese economics is that it has its own issues. I have chosen a topic, Trumponomics, and I said in the context of tariffs, where you say that I will not import from you, or I will put restraints on my technology transfers to you. Chinese today, after 10 years, are in a different level. They care 2 hoots. That's my point. Now, whether they use that technology to create an NPA bank, or whether they use it to demolish themselves, that's a different issue. We will talk about Chinese economy from a Chinese perspective. But today we are talking about Trumponomics, who says that I will put a number of restraints, and also talks about migration as a problem. There are challenges. That's the problem.
But Trumponomics cannot operate in isolation.
Yeah.
Global responses are going to
We do not know. What Chinese will do, we do not know. That is for China to look about. I'm saying this may not work from US angle also. For all that you know, China may surrender, we may do it, or China may, we will wait how it unfolds. But I'm saying it's not that Trump has got all the Trump up his sleeves and he puts one after the other, the world is coming out of its knees. The world will have differential responses. Thank you very much. It's indeed a pleasure to be here in Bangalore, such an intelligent and elite audience. I can't express my words to thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. So when we have a chartered accountant, a lawyer, a prolific orator, and an author, so this is what we get. So in an hour's time, he took us around from Ramarajya to Mahabharata, to petrol, to dollar, to Iraq, to Argentina. He took us all around the world to drive the point that it is no longer going to be others helping us, we have to help ourselves. And he also has given us a topic that the next time he is going to talk about, like the burial of globalization. So that will be your topic, sir. So on this note, I would like to thank Dr. MRV for this wonderful lecture, which was instituted by Sri Pendakur Virupanna Memorial Program. So we have Dr. Anand Pendakur with us. So I would request him to provide a token of our gratitude to MR. Please. So on behalf of all of us and Indian Institute of World Culture, we would like to thank the Pendakur family for this institution of this particular lecture. And thank you all for making it to this particular program on a Monday evening. And in advance, I would like to wish all of you a prosperous and a healthy 2025. Tomorrow, as usual, we will have one more cultural program. And I also would like to thank all the viewers who are there on our YouTube channel, which is streamed live. So with this, good night.